economic crisis has taken its latest victim. Danny, a construction worker from Rotterdam, has recently been laid off. With a family to support and austerity measures looming on the horizon, the future is looking distinctly gloomy. But Danny's story is far from unique. His friend Folkert was in the same situation 4 years ago, when the first ripples of the worldwide financial crisis were being felt. But rather than let his situation get the better of him, Folkert decided to work for himself. He revels in the freedom of being self-employed. He can take holidays when he wants, negotiate his own pay, and he answers only to himself. The only downside is actually finding the work.
It's very difficult to find work here in Holland now. I come from the north of Holland, and it's for me about 150 miles to come here.
Well, my situation is that I'm fired, so I have 6 weeks to work, and I'm unemployed.
I don't like it. The age that we have to stop at work is here 67, and in Greece it's 55.
But there have to be something done about everything. It cannot go on like this. I'll go back to the guild. Sounds great.
Maybe it's good for the euro to separate the poor countries and the rich countries to get a better value of it. Because now the rich countries are getting little by little going down, and that's not good.
And it's little wonder construction is suffering when you take into account that 15% of all office buildings in the country are empty. In some areas, 50% stand vacant. Tax incentives on mortgages initially lured families onto the real estate market. House prices rose year on year, but then the bubble burst and the property values plummeted. Private debt in the Netherlands breaks all European records. And in spring, many feared the budget deficit could get out of control. The centre-right-wing government has reacted by implementing severe budget cuts, an unpopular move met with some resistance, but a job well done for others. And with the austerity package voted in, the finance minister proudly parades his briefcase containing €12 billion worth of budget cuts.
We do the austerity measures. We are making all necessary measures to show all the world, all parts of the world, that the Netherlands is still an austere country.
In Rotterdam Harbour, we meet John, a jobless skipper, and his daughter Stephanie. She should have her mate's licence next year, keeping up the sailing tradition which has been in her family for 4 generations. The Netherlands is facing the gusts of an anti-Euro storm as the tone of the far right and the far left is decidedly Eurosceptic. John and Stephanie are members of the Dutch Socialist Party, and they believe the euro is to blame for their lives going off course.
The reason for the crisis is obviously the introduction of the euro. Today, the Netherlands is helping all these other countries. Amongst them is Greece, obviously, and obviously we're paying quite a lot for them. That's really bad for our country, and that's why we're in this crisis.
John lives on €722 a month, while Stephanie gets around €695, a relatively low amount when you consider the high cost of living in Rotterdam. And the government's austerity packages mean even choppier waters are afoot. Because Stephanie still lives at home, the calculations for their social security allocations will mean less money for both. John's home is surrounded by paintings of his ships. And at a time when VAT, the pension age, utility bills and medical care are all on the rise, it's easy to understand his nostalgia for the good old days.
Individual contributions for medical care and such will increase in a dramatic way. Today, I have to pay €246 a month, which will go up to €400. And as a result, food banks, where you get free food, are becoming increasingly popular. We'll all end up there.
Uiteindelijk kom je er allemaal terecht.
I think since the European currency, since the euro, everything's become a lot more expensive. All prices have doubled, or worse.
At the time when I started sailing, a sailor's tattoo cost me €5. Now it costs €150.
Today people work until they're 65. The government wants to increase the retirement age to 67 or even 68. I think by then, when I'm 67, I'll have to work till I'm 80.
Young people can't get any more money from the banks. So it's going to kill small entrepreneurs with their small boats, and we'll end up only having big, expensive boats. We used to have the opportunity to start our own businesses, but now it's out of the question. You can't even get credit for a house.
In Utrecht, a debate is planned for those for and against the euro to put their points across. Ario Klemmer, a left-wing professor, has a rather ominous nickname, Europe's Mr. Doom. For him, the implosion of the euro would be no great surprise. In front of the Utrecht Cathedral, he clashes with his intellectual and political counterpart, the liberal economist Jaap Koelevan, an ardent defender of the euro.
The euro is bad for Europe, the euro is bad for the Netherlands, and especially bad because it is a stimulus for politicians to kill the welfare state.
Basically, the euro is a good idea. It will be good for European integration and will make more competitive economies.
If we look forward to an economy that's an European economy that's using multiple currencies, I think that in the end will be much better. It will make us more resistant to shocks and make us less vulnerable what is happening now.
Unbundling the euro or disintegrating the euro will cost us 5 to 10% of GDP. Getting back the guilder, unfortunately, would result in a dramatic loss of competitive power for the Dutch economy, as the guilder will appreciate vis-à-vis the Southern European economies. So I'm afraid that the cost of dismantling the euro are much higher than the cost of trying to maintain the euro, maybe without Greece.
The old mint in Utrecht is secured like Fort Knox, and there's good reason. Its research department holds a stunning collection of 500,000 gold and silver coins, as well as other numismatic treasures, and only a small number of them are on display at the Utrecht Money Museum. But even with the historical wealth here, austerity has still managed to creep in, and the museum's curator has just lost his job.
In history there have been a lot of monetary unions. A good example is the Dutch Republic in the Golden Age in the 17th century. The Netherlands were not one country, it was a federation of provinces. And they agreed to have a common coin, a common currency for trading purposes. This was a very stable coin. Its worth remained the same for more than 2 centuries.
Says Mars is one of the founding fathers of the European Monetary Union. While he was the Dutch Treasurer General, he negotiated the euro setup, trying in vain to convince his European counterparts to agree on tougher rules. The euro is his life's work.
What went wrong with the euro? Why we are in this situation we have today?
The crisis that we have in Europe is not on our currency, not on our banknotes, not on our coins. It is a problem with the governments. The governments have too high deficits. Every country should know that and knows that if your debt continues to accumulate, and every family, every household knows that, you cannot accumulate your debt all the time, then nobody finances it anymore at the end of the day.
So is there still hope to keep the Dutch in the Eurozone? Or will the whirlwind of anti-Euro populism from the left and the right blow up the euro from the inside? The upcoming September elections in the Netherlands will no doubt be looked upon as a political barometer for the Eurozone as a whole.